This is my entry for the Fast Forward Science contest, links in the description. Hello there, I'm Nemo, and symbiosis is a term you've heard a million times. From the Greek sym and bios, it essentially means living together. It describes a close and long-term biological relationship between two different species. Just like me and Reginald.
Don't. Please don't. I can't do this anymore.
So, what are the different types of symbiosis? Which are the craziest examples of this type of relationship in nature? And what about cephalopods? We'll answer all of those questions in today's episode of Krakenology. Think about symbiotes like bees and flowers. One gets food and the other one gets to reproduce. The truth is that in biology, the concept of symbiosis is slightly more complicated than this. Or at least it encompasses more types of relationships which are not always beneficial to both parties. Heinrich Anton de Barre was the first one to use the term symbiosis in a biological context. He defined it as this phenomenon in which two dissimilar organisms live together. That was the end of the 19th century, and since then there has been a lot of debate about what does the term symbiosis actually define. Today we pretty much settle with the idea that symbiosis is a long-lasting relationship between different species of organisms. We can divide symbiosis into three types. To illustrate this, let's use a plus to indicate a positive impact, a minus to indicate a negative impact, and a zero for no impact. Mutualism is a type of symbiotic relationship in which both parts benefit. Commensalism is when one of the two organisms benefits from this relationship while the other neither is harmed or gets benefits from it. And parasitism is when one species benefits and the other is harmed. So yeah, parasitism is a form of symbiosis. Think about it next time someone defines your relationship as symbiotic. So, how is it going between you and your husband? Oh, John and I? We have such a symbiotic relationship, you know. Isn't it true, honey? Of course. If you consider you're attached to me like a little creepy parasite draining money from my wallet and sucking life out of my soul. We are so symbiotic. What was that? That what? You blinked for like 5 seconds. No, I didn't. Were you thinking about a masterful and intentional misuse of the early definition of symbiosis coined by Anton de Barre in 1878. How can you possibly know that? I can read your mind, you dumbass. Wait, what? We are literally sharing the same body. Classifying symbiosis under those types can be difficult due to the existence of intermediary forms that are difficult to categorize. The transition between one type to the other, well, can be temporary or gradual. Today, we know that these associations have had a major impact on all forms of life, and they are still essential to the proper functioning of every ecosystem on planet Earth. In a symbiotic relationship, the two organisms are called symbionts. Sometimes we tend to call one of them the host and the other the symbiont. It generally happens because one of the two is bigger than the other, or because the symbiosis is actually happening inside or around the host. Due to the diverse range of symbiosis and the increasing number of terms to describe them, a classification system for symbiotic associations has been created. This system is based on various features: the location of the symbiont inside or outside the host, the persistence of symbiosis, long-lasting or permanent, dependence on the symbiosis, obligate or facultative, the specificity of the symbionts, but also the transmission, vertical, getting the symbiont from the mother, or horizontal, getting the symbiont from the environment. Enough talking about technical terms, I know what you want. You want examples, and I'm gonna give you examples. The most classic example of mutualism is definitely the Clownfish-anemone association. In this relationship, the anemone benefits by obtaining nutrients from the clownfish waste, while the clownfish obtains protection through the anemone's tentacles. In fact, these tentacles contain stinging cells that can deter predators, but the clownfish is immune to those stings because it has a protective layer of mucus around its skin. The clownfish also defends the anemone by driving away polyp-eating fish. Clownfish require this association with the sea anemone and they have evolved to bond with a variety of species. On the other hand, you can find anemones without clownfish. And this is an example of how dependency on symbiosis doesn't always match between two symbionts. Do you want to know a bonus fact? I know you want. Clownfish, like the character of Nemo in the Pixar movie, are protandrous. That means that they are born male and they can change sex to female. In their natural habitat, clownfish live in groups with a breeding pair of a male and a female and many smaller males. When the female disappears, the older male becomes female and the next largest fish in the group now becomes the sexually mature male. Fortunately, this behavior was not depicted in the movie. It would have added an interesting twist to the plot. Nemo, I'm sorry. Mom passed away, but it's alright because I'm now your new mother. But how to tell you this? I am also your wife. The snapping shrimp is probably one of the coolest crustaceans out there. It is known for its ability to produce a loud snapping sound by closing rapidly its specialized claws, creating a bubble of water vapor which implodes and creates a shockwave that can stun or kill prey and predators. The high pressures and temperature from the shock lead to the formation of plasma, so yes, it makes light. It is a little bit like snapping your finger and...
Are you okay, sir?
I'm fine.
Should I call someone?
No, don't call anybody. The shrimp has a symbiotic relationship with another fish, the goby fish. Not a very interesting fish. But their association is pretty fun. The shrimp builds and maintains the burrow that they both live in. And while he's doing that, the goby serves as a lookout for predators. And it warns its friend of any danger with a flick of a tail. Ah, friendship. They're a bit like Han Solo and Jabba underwater. Hand shot first! Another cool example of mutualism you might have heard about before is the case of the bird which guides the badger to the honey hives. Supposedly, the bird is capable of finding honey hives but cannot open them. On the other hand, the badger can definitely open them but cannot find them. So, a beautiful mutual cooperation. Now guess. But you see, there's something weird about this story. Yep, this is a fake bird. But did you notice something else? Well, let's zoom out a bit. This whole story is a lie. Everything has been staged and there is no observed evidence of this association. So why did people make this thing up though? I don't know. Some people just wanna see the world burn.
What's up, boss? I just thought of the most evil plan. Oh yes, I like it. We are going to brainwash the entire planet with fake information. Lies, 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 and despair. So, listen here. We are going to fake an extremely cute friendship between a bird and a badger. A badger, sir? Nobody's ever going to doubt the beauty of symbiotic associations. It is the perfect lie.
The myth started in 1785 and was only debunked in a scientific paper in 1990. So yeah, 200 years. That's a pretty long-lasting lie. It has to be said though that the bird has a symbiotic relationship but with humans. They have evolved reciprocal signaling for communication in order to find honey. So what about cephalopods? A super cool example of mutualism in cephalopods is the association between the bobtail squid and its bioluminescent bacteria. This squid is one of the cutest things I have ever seen in my life, and it is actually the species I am working on during my PhD. This squid has an organ called the light organ, and it is located in the ventral side of its mantle, which is the main body region. This organ is specialized in housing Vibrio fischeri, a bacteria which produces bioluminescence. It is thought that the emitted light is used by the squid to blend in with the ambient light of its environment, a process called counter-illumination. The most fascinating aspect of this relationship is definitely the light organ itself. First of all, it shares morphological and molecular similarities to the eyes. In fact, it seems that through evolution, the bobtail squid has repurposed building blocks of the eyes to create this organ that has paradoxically the exact opposite role. Instead of focusing light from outside to the inside towards the retina, it diffuses light produced by the bacteria from inside to the outside. On top of this, because of a thorough chemical selection, the cavities within the light organ can only be colonized by one specific species of bacteria. No others can. This association is used today as a model for animal-bacterial symbiosis, and they have even sent squids to space in order to check if the establishment of symbiosis could occur under microgravity conditions. Yes, squids in space. What about commensalism though?
Hey you! Are you a fish looking for a cozy home?
Well, my name is Nemo, but I'm not a fish.
Congrats! You just hit the jackpot, my friend. I'm gonna offer you the ultimate real estate deal. A house, no rent, no mortgage, and all the ocean view you could ask for.
Cool! Where do I sign?
Here!
Perfect! Here's your new house!
Is that a sea cucumber?
It is!
Huh.
How do I even go in?
No. And here are the keys.
I'm not even making stuff up. Yes, pearlfish are thin and long, and sometimes they're made their home inside the body of invertebrates like sea cucumber. But how do they go in? Well, sea cucumber breathe by sucking water in through their butt. So pearlfish, they just have to wait until the sea cucumber takes a breath, and then they just they go in. Pearlfish and sea cucumbers are a classic example of commensalism. The pearlfish gets protection and a safe place to hide from predators. On the other hand, well, the sea cucumber is not really affected by the presence of the pearlfish. It continues to filter nutrients from the water and mind its own cucumbery business. Last but not least, parasitism is the most prevalent type of symbiosis, and actually it appears that all the other types of symbiosis like commensalism and mutualism subsequently evolved from parasitism. There can be different types of hosts, the primary or final host is the one which contains the adult and sexually mature parasite, while intermediate or secondary hosts harbor the eggs, the larval stage, or the asexual form of the parasite. Today I will not talk about human parasites because, that gives me the chill and I don't like it. And there are a lot of other cool examples of parasitisms which do not involve getting inside here or affecting my precious body. So yeah, I will talk about other types of parasites. The tongue-eating louse is a parasitic isopod which causes the degeneration of most of the tongue of its host, a fish. It then attaches to the remaining tongue stub and acts as a mechanical replacement for the tongue. And this is the only known example, the only instance of a parasite taking over the function of a host organ. Leucochloridium paradoxum is a flatworm whose primary host is a bird. Once mature, its eggs are released in the bird feces, and they are then ingested by the snail, its secondary host. The egg then develops into a so-called sporocyst. At this stage, it looks like a white blob inside the snail liver. But the sporocyst doesn't want to stay there forever. It wants to go back to its primary host, the bird. So that is when the nightmare begins. The sporocyst generates long, colorful and pulsating tentacles throughout the mollusk body. Those are brood sacs containing eggs. This sporocyst mind controls the snail to be more active during the day, to stay in better lit places and in higher vegetation. All of this in order to be more conspicuous to the birds, which will eat the brood sacs as they look like caterpillar. Yum yum. And that is how they close their life cycle. Another horrific detail is that the snail might survive this attack, and many more brood sacs can be produced inside its body. Blech. A few years ago I was walking in a forest close to Lake Tao, and I saw this. I gotta say, I was pretty confused. This thing looks like something from another world. The name is Sarcodes sanguinea, or snow plant. Most plants use chlorophyll to get energy from the sun through photosynthesis. But the snow plant doesn't have chlorophyll, hence its red color. So where does it get its energy from though? Well, it steals it. Many plants have mutualistic relationship with root fungi. What happens in this relationship is that the fungi help the plant to absorb water and nutrients from the soil. In exchange, the plant offers sugar to the fungi. Snow plants hack into this system and they steal nutrients directly from the fungi. It's personally one of my favorite plants ever, and its name means resembling flesh and blood bread, which is totally metal. I never thought that debates over definitions are interesting, especially when they do not go beyond pure semantics. But I like it when the reasoning behind a definition brings along substantial questions that sometimes go beyond its original field of application. In biology, individuality refers to characteristics and traits which define an organism and distinguish it from others. This concept is central to many areas of biology: evolution, genetics, ecology, but sometimes symbiosis can blur the lines between organisms. Take yourself, your body, you, for example. You consider yourself an individual entity, right? Well, you have to know that your body is a stage for two examples of symbiosis which might weaken a little bit your conception of individuality. First of all, your cells contain a relic, an ancient relic of symbiosis, the so-called mitochondria. Yes, the powerhouse of the cell. Just like chloroplasts in plants, it is thought that mitochondria were once bacteria, which were incorporated inside prokaryotic cells during symbiosis. And that is why your mitochondria have a separate DNA. Now, think of this as a thought experiment. At which point in evolution did those two cells start being considered one single entity? Secondly, you are made of a lot of cells which share DNA and which come from the same egg. And there is no doubt that all your cells work together to maintain the whole organism alive and healthy. But your cells are not the only one doing that. In fact, your body is home to trillions of microorganisms which play vital roles. Bacteria help with the decomposition of organic matter and the cycling of elements like nitrogen or carbon. You know, things that are all essential and necessary for human life. They also break down food in the digestive system, they provide vitamins and aid with the development of the immune system. These bacteria outnumber human cells by 1 order of magnitude. So yes, you have 10 times more bacteria inside and outside your body than you have human cells. So, strictly speaking, from a number point of view, you are more bacteria than you are human. Ultimately, the question of individuality in the context of symbiosis is a complex and multifaceted one. And it highlights the interconnectedness of all living things. Whether we consider the coral and the algae it contains to be one entity or two different organisms, it is clear that their relationship is a vital and essential part of the larger ecosystem they live in. So yeah, maybe you're not simply human, mitochondria, or bacteria. Maybe all we are is just little pieces of a gigantic puzzle, a big and beautiful picture that we should try to understand and preserve. That's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Consider subscribing, consider becoming a Patreon, and consider joining our beautiful Discord server. Yep. Well, I'll see you soon. Bye.